Hello, and welcome to the Woo Woo Gypsy podcast. I'm Taylor, your host. Today, we are going to be discussing My Hygge Home, How to Make Home Your Happy Place by Mike Viking or Viking. Still not sure. All right, so if you've been around, you see that I already did one episode regarding Hygge, and that was just a general thing of Hygge. So this will be kind of touching on some of the same things because in this book he does repeat some of the stuff that he's already said, but that's always a good thing because sometimes you can retain the information better if you hear it more than once. So we're going to start off with his tips for designing Hygge. And the first thing is he talks about his Viking seat. I did not have one, but I was determined to make myself one. A Viking seat is where you're kind of tucked away in a corner so you could see everything that was going to come at you. Pretty much like you're nice and safe and tucked away in like a little cave. So I had a recliner that I like to sit in, but it wasn't tucked away in the corner. I had the door behind me, or one of the doors behind me in my living room. I have a weird setup in my living room. There's like 1,000 doorways, so it's really hard to have things like organized the way that you'd like. But I figured it out. I moved some stuff around now that we took the Christmas tree down. I put it in the corner of where a Christmas tree was. So I'm no longer facing the TV, but I kind of like that because then the sunlight and any natural light is coming in from the window right there. And it's a nice little reading nook or for me to nurse my baby. So it's perfect. And then we also have a couple Viking seats now in our kitchen. I made like this cozy little nook where we have 2 chairs and then there's a table, and we moved one of our other chairs in there because we got some new furniture. So and an ottoman is in there too. So it's a nice little cozy area for reading or just hanging out. And a Viking chair, when he first read that, I thought that it was a specific kind of chair, but it could be any chair. It's just where you place it is what makes it the Viking chair. The next thing he touches on for Hygge design is to create zones that serve a specific purpose. So think about what you will be doing in that certain space. Like, do you want a small corner to be a reading nook? Like kind of how I put my chair in the corner and the light comes in perfectly in that chair, the sunlight. So it's a nice little reading space and it flows with the rest of the room, but it's kind of in its own little area. Or you can like cordon off something with a shelf or like a plant or that one of those like accordion clothes changing thing, that you like fold open and you stand behind. But you can use that in a room if you don't have a wall to kind of section off. So if you have like a nice open floor plan, which I love, and I want a house like that so bad, but there's not as many walls. But you can create your own walls out of whatever you want. You can set up a couple tall monstera plants if you have some beautiful monstera plants and set them side by side and have something kind of behind them in one of the corners. Make it like a cozy little corner. You can also throw a rug down in a certain spot or some like cushions, pillows, throw a blanket to make yourself a cozy ass little corner. Ways to create some zones could be placing rugs in certain areas of the space. So in my craft room / where I do my podcasting / where some of my daughter's stuff is kind of her room too, we have a rug in front of one of, I don't even know what this is called. It's like some kind of dresser thing. But it's where I sit to do my podcast. So this is like my podcast zone. So I have a rug and, and a giant like sitting cushion that I sit on. And then I put my laptop up on the table. And yeah, so it's like a little area. And this is like my little space that I do my podcasting. You could also use different lighting in one corner to make it cozier, like make it cozier for like a game table or board games. And, you'd have just a specific area to do board games, which I would love. When we're at my dad's house, we usually go to the kitchen table, and the dining room table is nice and long, obviously with, plenty of seating around, and you can always add chairs, but the light, he's got one of those, like lights that hang down, and him and my stepmom have like this cozy little area right there, and it's perfect for playing games, especially with that light hanging right there. So it's right above the board game, and yeah, it just makes a perfect little space for it. Another way to design your house little hygge is getting your pantry stocked. Now, it's even more hygge if you make the stuff that you put in your pantry. So you can spend your summer growing your fruits and veggies and herbs that you could later turn into some kimchi, chutney, or jams, or make some like pickled items or just pickles. I love pickles. I am dying to try my own pickles, or try my hand at making my own pickles. But yeah, so then you can like stock your pantry with that. And the nice thing that he says about this is that you get hygge from it several times. So starting from when you grow or forage the food, and then when you cook it, and then store it, and again when you eat it. So you get hygge from that multiple times. You get that nice little cozy feeling. Plus, I don't know about you, but when I make stuff homemade and then I use it, especially if I have to come back to it, if something that like you have to let like kind of marinate or anything like that, and you have to come back to it, it just makes me feel so good. Like I grew my own cherry tomatoes. For me, that's been one of the easiest things for me to grow. I literally didn't even try to grow it. It started growing out of my little like vegetable discard pile, and I didn't have a whole bunch because it kind of grew late in the summer or late in the season, but it gave me great joy to know that I tended to it after it did start growing, and that I grew it, and then I use that in my food, and it just makes you feel better. It just gives you that comfy, cozy vibe. His top 10 pantry items include preserved lemons, and he has a recipe for that in this book. Elderflower cordial, dried mushrooms, recipe chutney, roasted peppers in oil. I want to try that one because I do use peppers a lot. Kimchi, I want to try that one too because I love kimchi. If you don't know what kimchi is, I think it's just cabbage and vinegar, basically. I'm not sure. Don't quote me on that. But I love kimchi, especially when it's nice and crunchy. And when it's stored in a glass jar, it just makes it just so much more, I don't know. When stuff's in plastic, it just doesn't seem as crisp, to me at least. And then also blackberry jam or any kind of jams. I've made my own strawberry jam with my mom when we were canning, and I love doing that. It tastes good, lasts forever if you know how to can right. He also says to have a list on your phone of what's in your freezer. So when you're ready to cook a meal, you can use your leftovers that are already ready to go, or, if you make a soup and you have that left over, you can freeze it if you're not going to eat it immediately. I know for me, sometimes in my family, when we have soup or something like that, we don't always want it again the next day, or maybe we'll eat it for 2 days and then, usually I make a lot of soup so it lasts for a while. So if you get bored with it, you can just put it in the freezer and then it'll last a lot longer. When I was pregnant with my son, I did this a lot because I wanted to have something ready to go for when I had him, because he was my first kid. I had no idea what the fuck I was doing. And I wanted to have food ready to go that would be easy for me to do, because I didn't know how my recovery was going to go. I didn't know how he was going to be, like his temperament. So that was really a good one when I was pregnant. For Hygge home, he says to focus on lighting. Try to get as much natural lighting as you can. I personally love natural lighting. I always have. I didn't realize that it was Hygge. I think I've said this in my other podcast, but as I'm reading these books from like the Nordic countries, I either was from there in a past life or I should be living there, because the way that they live and what's important to them really resonates with me. So I really love natural lighting. I'm really, I get depressed easier when I'm in artificial lighting. Like my last job, most of the time you're in artificial lighting, and I worked with kids, and so they'd have their different clinic rooms, and so some of the kids had no windows, and it was just the artificial lighting in their room, which I hated because it just made me feel down. Like I just felt horrible. I don't even know how else to describe it. I just felt horrible. And then, sometimes you get reassigned to kids. So it was super nice when I got reassigned, and could be in rooms with windows, because it makes you feel better. I didn't realize it was Hygge, but it definitely is. For For artificial lighting, choose it based on your purpose for the lighting. So you may need a brighter light for your working space, which is fine, obviously, because sometimes you really need to have that more concentrated light so you could see something easier. If you need to see those little nooks and crannies. When I worked for an eye doctor, I had my own little workbench for fixing glasses, and I had a special light that I could turn on so that I could see a little bit easier. So yeah, if you need it, obviously artificial light is super beneficial. And it's even better if you can adjust the light too. Sorry, I don't know if you can hear my cat. My son just came in a little bit ago, and my cat's in here now purring. Okay. There's a few different lighting styles too. You could do a diffused light, which is general lighting of a room. To dim these a bit, you can always choose one with a light fabric on it or some sort of glass screen to kind of give it not so harsh of an effect. An upward facing light, I used to have these when I was in an apartment because, usually there's not a light in the center of the room. You have to have lamps. So an upward light you can add to the ambiance of your general lighting fixture. And then lastly, the downward light, like the floor lamps that don't go up with the dome that goes up. If you know, you know. The floor lamps with the downward, the closed shade for, you could use it for reading. And honestly, I would love that because my living room lights are either way too dim or way too bright. There's no sweet spot for my little Viking chair that I said I have. It's I have these dimmer lights. It's like a row of dimmer lights that are pointed at the wall, almost like they should be highlighting a painting on the wall. And then I have my overhead light, but the overhead light is way too bright. And now that I have the Viking chair by the window, it's nice because I'll have the natural light, but with it being winter, you only have a certain amount of time, and I like reading all throughout the day. I'm sorry if you can hear my cat. Tell me, you're so funny, Katie. Okay, that being said, he does remind you that you can mix around all different kinds of lights and create different little lighting pockets in different areas and giving different vibes to whatever nooks you decide to create. Sorry, my cat is rubbing on my microphone now. Jimmy, it's okay. Sorry, I feel like I've said so much in this episode. My bad. I'm trying to be quiet, and because my kiddo is sleeping and somebody else is sleeping too in the other room, so I'm trying not to speak too loudly. And it's throwing me off because usually I'm just like going on and on in a rant in my normal tone, and it just not being in my normal tone has thrown me off. Okay. He also gives a breakdown for every room of the house and what lighting to put in which room for the best effect. I didn't really write anything more about those notes just because, like usual, I want to leave a little bit for you to go explore yourself. Oh my gosh, I said it again. These goddamn ums. Okay. Add space to a room, not size, meaning to measure your furniture before purchasing and find what best suits your space and optimizes that space. Create multiple purposes for your furniture as well, if applicable. So if you have like a little reading nook and you have a table in your reading nook, if the table could fit some board games or something, make it multi-purpose, and then you only need one lamp to light up that area. Oh my god. I'm so thrown off today. I'm sorry. And again, he says to bring in as much sunlight as possible, and definitely something that I always live by. I refuse to put furniture anywhere near windows if it's going to take away the light or block it in any way whatsoever. I just won't do it. I always organize my room according to that and try to put the lower, I don't know how to say it, not lower level, but like things, like shelves that are lower to the ground, I usually put by windows, and then like my high bookshelves or my regular shelving, I move away from the windows, or like I have a shelf in one of my corners in here in my craft room. So it's by the window, but it's not blocking the light, and it's pushed all the way into the corner away from the window so that it's not blocking any of that light. I had it in front of the window because I had plants on it, but it blocked too much of the light, and I was like, yep, we're not doing that. That's gotta go. And Jimmy. And he says to stick with the one out, one in rule so you don't have a bunch of shit laying around, but things you actually enjoy, which is something I try to live by. If I bring stuff into the home, I try to get stuff out. For Christmas, we went through some stuff, and so we got rid of some stuff because we were bringing some stuff in. And if something isn't, not like to be Marie Kondo or anything, but if something isn't bringing you joy anymore, just get rid of it, and if you want to bring something else in that's going to bring you more joy, cool. If not, then it's always nice to get rid of something to get kind of clear out some space. Something he recommends, which I have always thought about doing but never follow through with, is to host a going away party for your stuff and have a get together with friends where everyone brings a household item to get rid of. I've never thought about calling it that, but I've always wanted to do something where I gathered my stuff and gathered my friends, and we just swapped stuff so that if somebody needed something, they could just grab it from whoever else has it, who may no longer need it, or who maybe they upgraded and the thing that they have still works, but maybe they just don't need it anymore. I hope you guys can hear that purring. I'm trying to put my kitty cat on the spot here. There's again, sorry. Speaking though on bringing new items in, remember just like greenwashing, don't buy into the Hygge washing. Beware of it. These companies be lying and trying to trick you. So just, if something's not really going to be Hygge for you and add to your life, don't bring it in just because you're like, oh, that's Hygge, so I need to have it because I'm trying to be Hygge. No, it's still, just no. Another way to be Hygge too, which I, again, didn't really realize that it was Hygge, is thrifting. Who doesn't love thrifting? Okay, I'm sure there are people who don't love thrifting, but I know a lot of people who do. But that's another way to be Hygge. Go donate some of your things and then go find some other things. Or fix your own stuff that may be broken, and instead of getting something new, just fix it. If it's something easy to fix, look up a video on how to fix it. It's kind of fun sometimes to just go find things in your house that are broken and just fix it instead of replacing it. If it's able to be fixed. Sometimes things aren't able to be fixed. Cultivate a green space in your home. I wish I had something like this, and no matter how hard I try, there's only certain plants that I can't kill, and then the plants that I don't kill, my cat usually tries to kill, which right now, get down. Jim. He's trying to get my monstera plant. I made the mistake of allowing him in here with me. No. No, Jimmy. Go, baby. Sorry about that. That's funny that as soon as I start talking about my plants, my cat walked away from me and jumped up onto where my plants are. And yeah, because he always kills my monstera every single time. So I have my plants in this room, in my craft room. Now he's clawing at the door because he's pissed at me. He wants out. But I have it in this specific room that I keep the door closed because he eats my plants. And it's insane because I have some plants. I have 2 snake plants. Actually, the one is a baby from the snake plant that I have in this room. And he doesn't really bother that one. I have it in my windowsill in my kitchen. So it's behind the sink. And I think maybe that kind of deters him. And he doesn't think about it. And then I have another little plant, which I'm not sure what kind of a plant it is. It's like a succulent of some sorts. And he doesn't really bother those. But he has tried his hardest and damnedest to kill this poor monstera, and I'm trying to nurse it back to health, and I've been trying to nurse it back to health, and I'm just, sorry, I'm looking, because I think he chewed some things. No, you can't have it. But anyway, yes, so having a green space in your home is also very Hygge. He speaks about a couple more principles that you can add to your repertoire of Hygge. The vacant chair principle, which is leaving a chair open at whatever table you're at, like always making sure that there's a chair open so that it's an invitation if somebody would like to come sit. You don't want it to seem like you're closed off and that nobody can join that little circle or whatever, or the table that you're at. So it's nice to have a chair open for somebody. Round tables, this is also good for. Thinking rectangular tables, you can't really speak to everybody. To a certain extent, it could work. But if you want everybody to be able to speak to each other, that's not really going to work. However, when I think of like Hogwarts, obviously they have those, those huge rectangular tables that go all through the mess hall or whatever, and Harry Potter, and that seems super Hygge to me. But yeah, if you've got like a small gathering, I guess. But if you have something where everybody can be off in their little groups and be able to kind of go from one group to the other, I guess, whatever. He also brings up the Hygge game, which are questions that spark conversations. So you can like write down if you have certain questions that you want to do to spark conversations. I think there is an actual The Hygge game. I'm gonna look it up because I want it if there is. Or yeah, you can write down different questions and put them in a hat and have people draw them out, and then and there's a whole bunch of different games that do that. Me and my friends play this one game, and I think it's like trying to guess each other's secrets or whatever. Or we're trying to guess whoever said what or something. I can't remember, but it's fun. Remember to find comfort in silence. This can be done while cooking or doing a puzzle or even enjoying somebody else's company. I feel like a lot of times people feel like they need to fill the silence. And I just want to remind people that it's okay. The silence is okay. It doesn't have to be awkward. It doesn't have to be weird. You don't have to constantly fill it. Obviously, it's nice to have a really good flow of conversation with somebody. That always feels good. But sometimes it does feel good to just share space with somebody, do something that you want to do while they do something they want to do. Maybe they're complete opposite things. It's like some parallel play, okay? Let's get some parallel play going on. Don't have to interact with each other. Connect with your neighbors. We have an old lady who lives like across the street diagonal to us, who is always talking to us. And then we're pretty friendly with our neighbors next door to us. Our other neighbors moved a few years ago, so it's kind of weird because we're still kind of getting used to these neighbors, even though now that I think about it, it's been a couple years. But they're a little more to themselves than the other neighbors. My other neighbor was an old cop, so he would like talk a lot more, I feel like, and we'd always run into them when we were out doing stuff. So get to know your neighbors, talk to them. I miss my one neighbors that lived across the street because they were like always outside, and she would always have conversation with me. And it never really lasted too long. There'd be some days where I'd be like tired and I wouldn't really want to conversate, but it was nice when I like really think about it to have somebody to talk to, and then you can just go in your separate homes because you're right there. He says you can play herring in a barrel. It's kind of like hide and seek. It's the reverse of hide and seek. So everybody goes and hides. There's one person that goes and hides, and then you have to find that person. And as people find that person, you lay down next to each other. So it's like, like I thought it's sardines, sardines in a tin. And yeah, you like lay next to each other, or I guess if the person's standing, maybe you'll have to stand next to them until everybody finds where everybody else basically is laying or standing. And yeah, it's the reverse of hide and seek, which also goes into the next one that he says, just play together. You don't, it doesn't have to be any specific thing, just play. It's very Hygge to play. Okay, and just some last little touches when when purchasing furniture. Think of what the function will be and how it will impact the room you're putting it in, and choose what will bring you joy and that will also show who you are. And it's okay if you're not sure who you are, and that changes frequently. That's why I love the thrift store, because honestly, sometimes I am very into one thing and dressing that certain way or collecting certain things that way, and then I want to change it up and get something else. So it's okay to change it up. That's why thrift stores are perfect, or swapping with friends is perfect, because then you don't have to purchase something new all the time. And it's obviously good for your pocket, good for the planet. A reminder again that homegrown veggies and fruits are Hygge. Grow something on your windowsill. He recommends doing like radishes, spinach, microgreens, chili pepper plants, tomatoes, cucumbers, strawberries, and then some of the like herbs, and then also ginger. So you experiment with what you can get to grow where. I have been trying to grow stuff, but again, I have a cat who just constantly eats my plants. So I have this beautiful dining area in my house with windows all around, and lots of sunlight, but I can't really put any of my plants there because my cat eats and kills them. All right, last thing. Have a retirement shelf in your fridge and familiarize yourself with catch-all recipes so that you can use them. An example of a catch-all recipe for me, I will do tacos if I have a lot of, like, I've got some leftover tomatoes, leftover lettuce, leftover zucchini, leftover mushrooms, and I need to get them used up before they go bad. Okay, I can make tacos with that. I can make some fajitas, or it's just something like, or make a soup, some kind of soup, or make sandwiches, salads, something that you can use. Oh my gosh, sorry, my cat was eating my plants again. Yeah, familiarize yourself with catch-all recipes, or make doggy bags for guests to take home from a party if there are lots of leftovers and you're not going to eat them all. My favorite is to go thrifting and find cute little casserole dishes and put either leftovers in those, or even cook like something in it to give to somebody. And yeah. Okay. Or mason jars. That's what I was going to think. I knew there was some other thought that I had there. You can use mason jars to put some extra stuff in, or extra soup for somebody to take home with them if you have a Hygge night. And if people, even better, your friends have, oh my gosh, Jim, my cat is knocking all my books down on my shelf. So, my cat is a menace, I'm telling you, if you didn't believe me. I hope you heard those books fall. And now that he's done that, now he's walked away again and he's at the door. What, Jim? Okay. My son wants to pop in again. He really enjoyed doing the one episode with me, so I'm going to have him come in here real quick and ask him what his favorite Hygge thing is. So I'll be right back. All right, we are here again with my kiddo. I've explained to him a bit of what Hygge is so that he kind of knows how to answer these questions. So Matthew, what is your favorite Hygge thing? Like, just in general, your favorite thing?
Getting hugs.
Okay, yeah, that could be very Hygge, very cozy, very gives you a sense of security and safety. What about, so this episode is about Hygge, how to make your home Hygge. So what about our home do you get the Hygge feeling from? It could be a piece of furniture. It could be a little corner of our house. It could be a certain room, anything you want, like a certain game that we play, whatever you want. So what is your favorite Hygge part of our home?
Playing the Ladybug board game.
Oh, I knew you were going to say that one. Another Hygge thing that we did was we played hide and seek with your friends a couple days ago. So that was very Hygge. Is there anything else that you think of when you think of our Hygge home or Hygge in general?
Getting in bed.
Okay, yeah, getting in bed and getting all cozy with blankets and pillows. Okay. Is there anything else you want to say before we end our episode?
I don't know.
Okay. All right. Well, we hope you have a good rest of your day, rest of your night, rest of your week, rest of your weekend. It's a Friday today. We are a little off schedule. Usually I post on Thursdays, but my daughter had a weird sleep schedule, and I think I actually hear her waking up now, so we gotta go. So, have a great day. We're sending you lots of love and light. You want to say bye?
Bye, guys.
Bye.